4th year. Hold on. That means we're on the final stretch. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Shivan and I'm a 5th year medical student now, studying at King's College London. And in today's video, we're going to talk about my 4th year medical school at King's College London. So the aim of this video is to give you an insight to what your 4th year in medical school might look like and what it looked like for me, what to expect, and how to prepare maybe for your 4th year of medical school. Yeah, it's just a bit of a recap. One thing that's important is to take this with a pinch of salt because each medical school is different. The structure and stuff and the details might be slightly different, but the broader message is what's important because 4th year will have broadly the same themes no matter where you study, but yeah, the details might be slightly different. Before we get further into this video, I want you to go check out my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, because over there I make videos about medical school, university, travel, lifestyle, all of that. So I make vlogs, videos with medical school advice, videos with advice on how to get into medical school, university life, etc. So go check it out. If you think it's something you'd be interested in, then smash that subscribe button and join me for a lot more. Now, 4th year, the overall big changes that I noticed from 3rd year to 4th year. Firstly, there's a lot more emphasis on clinical placement and time spent in clinical environments. There was almost no centralized teaching for me this year. Most of my time was spent on the sites where I was placed, the hospitals I was placed at, whether it was small group teaching or whether it was just learning on the wards in theatres and clinics, etc. One sad thing about 4th year was that I was split up from my previous year group due to something in medical school called intercalation. It's something that's there in medical school in the UK. I don't know if it's there in other places, but what it is basically is the chance to do a shortened BSc degree called an IBSc in the middle of medical school, and you can do it in something medical like cardiology, pharmacology, neurology, something like that, or you can do it in something that's not very medical, something like global health or public health or something like maths even. I personally did not decide to do that, so I was split up from all my friends who did decide to do that and now was paired with the year above who did intercalate. Why I chose not to intercalate? Well, that's for multiple reasons. If you want to know more about that, then go check out my video on whether you should or you shouldn't intercalate. So now getting back to the topic of this video. The big thing in medical school that we'll start off by talking about is academics. So academics in 4th year. Firstly, let's talk about the year structure. So firstly, it's important to preface this with the fact that in 3rd year you're given your choices for placement lines in 4th and 5th year. This is at King's. You're given a bunch of choices of combinations of different hospitals to do your placements in 4th and 5th year. So you can either get a continuity placement or a London Links placement. Continuity means for 4th, the entire duration of 4th year you're in one hospital, entire duration of 5th year you're in one hospital. But that means for at least 1 year you're likely to be placed pretty far from London. Or you can get London Links. So London Links means you're pretty much going to be at a different hospital for each placement. So you could be jumbled around to different places. And you'll probably get 1 or 2 peripheral placements, but mostly things will be quite accessible from London. So I got a London Links placement, which means I was in a few different places. Now, the year structure. So the year is split up into 4 blocks, 8 weeks each, and these 4 blocks were mental health, which is psychiatry, emergency medicine and critical care, which is emergency medicine, critical care and anesthetics, women's health, which is gynecology, obstetrics and breast disease, and then finally child health, which was mainly pediatrics. I was jumping from hospital to hospital for each one of these placements. For the first one, which was psychiatry, I was pretty much in London, not too far from where I am. For the second one, also in London. For the 3rd and 4th blocks, so women's health and child health, I was shipped off to Kent. I stayed there some nights of the week. I got free accommodation from the hospital, which was a different experience because for the first time I was actually living on site at pretty much in the hospital. It was definitely an experience to say the least. I like being in London, but you gotta do what you gotta do for medical school, you know. Anyway, moving on to the week structure. So the structure of your week in 4th year was basically 4 days of clinical placement, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with Wednesdays allocated for your quality improvement project, which I'll talk about further a bit later. Wednesday afternoons being allocated for extracurricular activities or just personal time. Now the assessments in 4th year, so they were pretty similar to the assessments in 2nd and 3rd year, just a bit more difficult and a bit more complex. So firstly, we had progress tests, and if you haven't watched my previous videos, progress tests are basically multiple choice tests, and in now at King's there are 150 questions, and basically you get the same test when you give it for the first time in 4th year, and when you give it for the final time in 4th year, it's the same content, not the same questions, but the same content. So the syllabus doesn't change, and basically the idea is as you learn more, your scores should get better. And we also had a formative OSCE this year, so again, didn't count towards our final grade. OSCE is a practical exam, by the way, if you didn't know. Yeah, it was just a good learning experience preparing us for the final OSCE that will be coming up in 5th year. The one assessment that I found was significantly more difficult than in previous years was our portfolio. So our portfolio is basically the medical school's way of keeping track of your activities on clinical placement and whether you're completing everything that you need to complete as a medical student. So firstly, this year for the first time we had to do something called engagement logs, where we had to fill out a log for what we were doing on placement each and every day. So that made us really work on the fact that we were doing something productive each day, because we had to write it out, mention how many hours we spent on it, etc. Also, we had a lot more clinical skills this year than before. So in 2nd and 3rd year, maybe 10, 12 clinical skills to get signed off. This year we had at least 20, I think, probably more than that. And some pretty complex ones like male catheterization and female catheterization and local anesthetic infiltration, subcut injections, cannulation, bloods, all of that. And the last thing that I mentioned previously and now I'm coming back to is the quality improvement project. So it's basically an audit where you work with a particular team. So in my case, I was placed with the psychiatry team because psychiatry was my first placement. And you basically identify a problem in the clinical environment or in the team or whatever, and you identify what the barriers are, what the issues are that are leading to that problem, and then based on that you observe, you study, and you come up with certain interventions that may be appropriate and may help fix the problem or make it better. Once you implement these interventions, you measure the amount of change they introduced and then accordingly make tweaks and adjustments and new changes, and then you measure the impact those had. And you do as many cycles as you can in the academic year, and yeah, that's what a quality improvement project is essentially. We also had the opportunity to take our project to an international conference this year in Edinburgh. We did it in a group, so our group took it to that conference and presented it, and that was a great opportunity, and I'm really glad that we were able to do that because that was a good and new experience for me. So overall, when I look at academics this year, clinical placement, stuff like that, the takeaways were that one, a lot more clinical time, which also meant that I got a better idea of what each specialty or each department I was in involved, and it also gave me a better idea of things I want to do and things I don't want to do. For example, I really liked the emergency medicine and critical care placement because I really like the fast-paced environment. A&E, of course, there's so much to do, and again, there's a breadth of conditions that can come up. To some extent, it's chaos, but it's also structured chaos, which I found interesting. I also really like pediatrics because I found that it was really rewarding. It was a great place to learn, a great place to teach. Of course, there's again a breadth of conditions because kids can come and present with pretty much any problem. So now, academics is not all there is to medical school. A very important part of it is what you do outside your medical school hours, and that's your social life, because your social life is what keeps you fueled and keeps you going through medical school so that you don't burn out. In regards to that, I feel like I actually struck quite a good balance between academics and socializing this year, keeping consistent with both throughout the year and not really, focusing on only one and completely ignoring the other at any point. I also took up a new activity this year, and that was running, which was good for my physical and mental health. Unfortunately, it is paused at the moment as I fractured my toe a couple of months ago, and I wanted to fully recover before I get back to, putting my weight on it while running. And finally, I really indulged in a newfound passion of mine this year during medical school, and that's travel. So I took about 3-4 trips this year whenever I could squeeze in a quick trip in a long weekend or a consolidation week or any break that we got. It's definitely tough because you don't get much time off in 4th year. That's one important thing that I forgot to mention. You don't get much time off in 4th year, so doing that is difficult, but if you're smart with your time and you can find the right gaps, you can definitely fit some stuff in. But basically, yeah, I think travel is a great hobby to have, especially as a medical student. It's nice to escape, to get that change of environment. It's highly motivating. But yeah, coming back to what I just mentioned that I forgot to talk more about, and that's the fact that you don't get much of a break in 4th year. So basically our 4th year pretty much flows directly into 5th year. So I'm in 5th year now and I've not had a summer break or anything like that. And I'm gonna get 2 weeks off in a couple of weeks for summer. That's it, just 2 weeks, and then I'm going to be starting my 5th year, and then I won't get any time off until I complete medical school. So that's something to be prepared for. You don't get much of a break between 4th and 5th year. That's if you're at King's. I've heard at some universities that gap gets shortened between 3rd and 4th year, but basically you'll be missing out on one summer somewhere. Anyway, that's the reality of medical school. Your friends who are not studying medicine are probably working at this point, so you just have to roll with it. But anyway, that's pretty much all the tea on 4th year. I hope you found it interesting and useful. I think overall the idea is that 4th year is just a level up from 2nd and 3rd year, same themes, just a little more complex, higher degree of responsibility, and it's difficult, but that does not mean that you cannot have a good time. You can have a great time both with your medical school activities and with your activities in life outside medical school. The important thing is to just manage your time, prepare, and know what to expect. So I hope all of that was helpful. I hope it was insightful. I hope it gave you a good idea of what to expect in your 4th year of medical school, what you can do to prepare for it. If you did find it useful and you did find it enjoyable, then drop a like down below, smash that subscribe button, leave any comments you want down below asking me any questions about 4th year or anything else. Share the video with your friends and family who might find it relevant, and other than that, I will see you in the next one.